Hi everybody, this is Nicole from New Life Counselling and Psychology. I have a real treat for you today. Right beside me here is actually my daughter, and her name is Courtney Blury. And the interesting thing, and the thing that we're going to link with this interview, is that Courtney has a business called Blury Photography. And I know that it's a very popular business, and I know a lot of you will have heard about the business. It's amazing. She's actually an amazing person, amazing daughter, and I know I need to say this obviously because she is my daughter, but it is the truth. And for those who know her, she would agree with me, I'm sure. So the reason I have her on here today is because I see a lot of mums who are very, very busy, and one of the big stressors they have is obviously trying to juggle the demands of modern day living. And I know that Courtney is one of them. And so she would be a perfect example of someone who we can unpack that situation, maybe get a few tips, help people to feel that they are not alone in this journey, and also, just to see where it goes and to embrace that community and normalize what's going on, and hopefully some little strategies in there that you can take away from it. So, welcome, Courtney.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yes, it is. I'm very excited because, yes, you are my first person I'm interviewing in this capacity for the psychology webpage on YouTube. So it's really cool. Shall we get started?
Let's go.
Yes. Alrighty. So I'm going to be asking you some questions. And the first one, so in regards to what I was saying, Courtney, how do you find the overlap between working, raising two beautiful children, and at the moment being pregnant? As you can, yes, there you go.
It's not my breakfast.
Yeah, true. Obviously married and handling all the mental load, the physical things, all of that. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, so like you said, a lot on my plate, which I find is very common for a lot of mums. We tend to wear a lot of hats. You know, we are daughters, we are mothers, we are sisters, we are a friend, and we have a lot of roles in our lives. You know, some of us are business owners or employees or bosses. Volunteers, yeah. There's a lot of roles and things that we juggle in our lives. Then having kids seems to fill up every little gap in between that. And sometimes there's even an overlap as well. So you're trying to do that one role whilst also being a mum, while also doing all the other things. Yeah, and I think that's probably where the pressure starts to stack up a little bit.
And I've got to say, being your mum, of course, and being through this journey myself, back in the day, I actually did not have as much capacity as what you do. I would draw very strong boundaries. I didn't necessarily have to work, which was a real blessing. Cost of living was a lot different. So we're really looking at a different time in history right now.
Yes.
So just to validate all that you hold down. And I do actually say that to Courtney a lot, don't I?
Yeah.
Slow down, make sure you say no to things, you know, look after yourself. And they're all the topics we'll probably talk about this morning. But good on you. Well done.
Oh, thank you. So definitely, I guess, back to, the question was about balancing, So, you know, the word balance, I think, is quite a contentious word because I don't really know if it's possible to achieve that perfect balance at all times.
Agreed.
I do find that sometimes in the day or sometimes in the month, like a month could look a little bit more like work has to take a little bit more time and other things are kind of down here. So that's not really a balance, right? Because a balance is like this. Yep. Maybe at, you know, trying to think what time, maybe you know, school pickup time, that's where, you know, the balance is more kids than work is down here, or it kind of depends through the day or through the month or through the year, kind of what that kind of harmony or integration is another word that some people will use. But something that I chose to do, I guess a little bit of a backstory into how I came to be a photographer, which obviously you know very well. I was working more in a corporate role capacity, managing a call center, which was very, very actually demanding of my time. It was a 24-hour job because I'd go on call, and I liked to work a lot, so I would take my work home with me, work on the train, work in front of the TV for someone else, and you know, that was outside of the bounds of what I was actually paid to do sometimes, which technically they weren't encouraging me to do that, but I felt like with the workload I kind of had to do a good job and match my standard of what I thought needed to be done. So yes, from there we went into COVID. I actually was pregnant and due with my first child. I had my baby the day before COVID lockdowns happened, and about 3 months into having had my baby, while I was on maternity leave, I was made redundant from my job, which was quite a difficult time for me with all the emotions,
all that work in, the extra work, the sacrifice.
Thinking it was a very secure job, all of that. But I'm the kind of person who doesn't like to let setbacks hold me back. I need a new focus, and literally the next day I started Blury Photography. And the idea about that though was that I would be able to be my own boss, choose my own hours, and it meant that I wouldn't have to do daycare for the kids, whereas if I was working at that other job I would have to go back to full-time work and put my kids in daycare, and that is just a value for me of how I wanted my life to be. I don't think it's the best option for every person, to be honest.
It's difficult.
It's a tough one, and it took a lot of work at the front end, you know, developing that business, and luckily it was COVID time, so I had time to build the business with, you know, while the government was supporting people and stuff, to then be able to create the balanced life that I had in mind. And I think that vision looks different for every person on what they want.
Every circumstance is different. I would totally agree. Well, thanks for sharing that context, because I think having, you know, timing is really important, and looking at priorities and what do we do when life, you know, one door closes, another opens. I would imagine that passion was brewing sometime, and there'd be a link to who you are as a person with that business as well. So it ticked a lot of boxes for you. So it was almost what you probably could say meant to be. And obviously we can say that more because it is doing so well. So that's fantastic.
Hindsight is 2020. It didn't flop, luckily, but it took a long time to get running.
Yes, that's true. And you took the risk, and the risk paid off, which is fantastic. So finding the overlap between, I guess, that time to now and in between, tell us a little bit more about that in terms of did you have to harness some supports? Did you have to take extra time for yourself? Did you have days where you felt really burnt out and you needed a few days to, all of that type of thing?
Yeah, definitely trying to stack it all on top of each other was a real learning curve for me. It's funny because when you become pregnant, and I've noticed, this is just a little thing I've noticed, is your body starts slowing you down naturally. You physically can't do the things that you used to be able to do. And I thought that just happened once with the first baby, but actually it's almost like this progression of, it kind of strips back all the layers. So yeah, when I had the first baby, it's like I had to, you know, give up a few particular extracurricular activities of mine, some volunteering and different things like that, just because I physically didn't have the energy to do it. I was fighting it though. I think I could have lent into that a little bit more and things would have been an easier transition, for sure, because I did have, like you say, like a lot of times where I would go beyond
really
the
high
energy.
Capacity young lady. Yes.
That's,
like her dad.
Yes, I have my dad.
Like her mum.
You've got the boundaries and the work-life balance and the self-care all figured out. I'm definitely more wired like my father, who grew up on a farm and worked extremely hard. So I got that hard work ethic, I think, from him.
And that in itself is a really interesting point, because when we have people in the room, obviously with sessions, sometimes their schemas will come up and they are formed from family of origin. And so the difference between you and I is very, paramount in how we handle stress. So it's important to know who we are and to not keep pushing ourselves and to start relearning. It sounded like you had to, for this season, what is my capacity? What do I need to look at boundaries? And did that feel like a bit of a loss for you?
Absolutely. I think I had a lot of my identity tied up in being a high capacity person.
High achiever.
Yeah. People would be like, oh, Courtney, how do you do it all? And I'm like, well, it's so hard. Oh, but I have a lot of support. All of that stuff. But I did, and it's true. I'm very blessed to have a great network to support me. But in a lot of ways, I think behind closed doors, I was putting myself at the very bottom of the pile. And so, yes, I was, luckily my health is okay and that kind of thing. But I think if I had to keep going down that trajectory, it probably would not have been good. And Mum's like, I saw all this.
Oh my gosh,
you got to learn.
Where I was really concerned and I kept saying, you've got to pull back a bit, you've got to. And anyway, mother's heart.
Yeah.
And when you've got all this psych knowledge as well, it just makes it a bit harder. So, okay, so I think we've probably answered that question, the overlap. So let's go on to something else. I think prioritising in each season is really important. So you talked about that. One day it might be more about the kids, the other day it might be more about work. But in general, how have you prioritised your work, the children, marriage needs to be tended to, obviously. Tell us about anything around that subject, priorities, and anything you've had to shuffle or learn in that way.
Definitely. I've had, it's a very hard one to prioritise because obviously you've got your different kind of pillars in your life which are important, like you were talking about. I definitely had the natural way I would prioritize is like kids, probably work, and then, husband down here somewhere, and then myself even further down, I would say. So, yes, I've definitely had to do some reshuffling, and one of the big ones, I guess the big reshuffle that I've had to do is around bringing marriage, so my husband up a bit further to the top of the pile.
He'll be happy to hear this one.
Yeah, I know, he's not allowed to watch this actually.
He's not allowed.
Yes, and communicating, I think, with each other around what your priorities are, for the day, of the week, and you can see very clearly what your priorities are by where your time goes. I think that's a very clear indicator of where your priorities lie. Yeah, so I guess one of the things that I think is important with marriages to actually keep them alive and keep them something that you both want to be a part of and enjoying, because it should be something you enjoy to have, is a marriage. At least that's what you sign up for. When you say I do, you're like, oh, this is going to be nice, and then life happens, and I think
you've got to work at it actually, and it'll be nice. That's
exactly.
The disclaimer, isn't it?
Did they tell you that? I don't know. I think everyone goes in telling you marriage is hard work, but you don't believe them. You just think it's a bit of a...
no, but we're great. We'll be fine.
Yes. So
that's the endorphins, isn't it? Or the chemical reaction in the brain.
Or the things that make you fall in love and be blind to everything else. So I guess when you have kids, that adds a tension to the marriage, to say the least, and on your time.
Absolutely.
So something that we've been doing a lot more of is, we used to go out and we love doing date nights, and my husband loves food, and I love food too, actually. We're foodies, which means a nice meal out was really something we were loving. And then, to be honest, with the cost of restaurants almost like doubling their prices and things, and then having to find a babysitter, which we have actually some great babysitters on call.
But every now and then we're not available.
Yeah, every now and then. and it's still the extra, you have to organise it and line up your diaries,
That's
and it just
right.
feels like another thing you have to do.
Resource.
Yeah, because then when, you're expending energy, and we're expending energy trying to organise it, and there's the meetup and the drop off and all of that. What we have started doing is, I think at least once a week or so, and this is a very practical thing, I actually
practical's great.
take this away and try it yourself. We put the kids to bed an hour earlier. I don't know if this works for everyone. They can't read the clock yet. They get a little bit miffed when they see it's still light outside. But I'm like, look, it's mummy and daddy's special night. So we will put on some nice music. My husband is actually an amazing cook and loves doing like a really nice steak for us. So we'll go, we'll buy a nice steak, because that's still a quarter of the price of what we would have gone to buy out at a restaurant. And he'll cook and I'll chat to him, and we'll drink a glass of wine, obviously, when I'm not pregnant. I missed that bit. And then we'll eat our little steak dinner, and then we'll choose a movie or something to put on. And that's been a really cost efficient, but also just energy efficient. It's been really nice. You don't have to drive anywhere. Yeah, you can still dress nicely or whatever you want to do, however it suits you. But yeah, it just has felt like a very nice way to have a date night, have it at home, have it affordable, low energy, but still like be able to, it just feels like the conversation flows because you know that you've made that space. So
so putting a boundary around that. Sounds like you're nourishing the body, the soul, the relationship, all in one, hour or two period of time, and also nourishing the bank account.
Yes.
So there's a lot of good, that's what we'd call, I guess, being creative in a relationship. But I think the key there, and it's a really great tip, but the key there is what you've done is you prioritise. And I imagine that's had a really good impact on your relationship. And a lot of you will know the psychology or the sphere of focus I have is psychosocial. So it's a relationship we have with ourselves, with others, individually, relationships, organisations, groups, etc. And I love looking at all of that. And so what's happening here is you've put time into your relationship and it's lifted it up, I imagine. And that's I do have a little bit of an inside...
the inside scoop.
The inside scoop. So that's really cool. But when I'm glad you brought up your relationship, because I recently have created and made available a conflict course, which you know. And I imagine when you weren't prioritising, there was probably times of conflict. Because when pressure and stress, or if someone's feeling like, they're not made a priority. Neglected is a word. That can come out in ways that, are not healthy sometimes. We can sit down and we can talk about it, but often when the pressures are piling on, which they do in this stage of life, it's, it can come out in difficult ways. So how are you with conflict? Tell us a bit about that journey.
Yes, so I would say I can kind of identify my conflict style right back to when I was younger. If I would sense any conflict, and look, I grew up in a very stable home, but obviously every family has some conflict. I would, run off and make myself scarce and that kind of thing, because I'm very conflict avoidant. So I would, I do recognise it about myself. Contrary to what you might think, I do have that inside. No, I know you know. Just kidding around. But so I tend to really withdraw, go inwards, and I don't, which is funny because I'm actually an external processor, which is important. It is very important for me to talk things through, and I think for everyone.
You've recognised that probably more now,
have you? Definitely that's a newer revelation for me. But when it comes to conflict, it's just, I can't find my voice, I can't find the words to put around my feelings. I really need a very safe space to be created to be able to open up. And we've kind of, I guess my husband is probably the opposite style. He's very head on, wants to address things, that kind of thing.
Resolve it now.
And so I would do different things, like you'd call it like stonewalling, where you just someone can be talking to you and you're just like shut off completely. So that's when things, I guess, get maybe a little bit more escalated or whatever. But in general, I'll just kind of like try and weave around it. But that's, I guess, my natural propensity. And then obviously you have the power to make choices on how you engage with that natural side, or whether you choose to grow and make improvements. And that's been a bit of a journey for me, is to be able to communicate those feelings and talk in a more assertive way when there's conflict and feelings and emotions and all of that comes in, and pressures, and
absolutely. And I don't know if you found this, Courtney, but often when people start putting boundaries in place, or they start being more assertive, other people around them don't necessarily like it, or they may be very confused and what is happening here. So it is a real adjustment in a relationship, and it's really good to acknowledge that can be the case. And so I imagine as you began to speak up, it took a bit of time to navigate that space.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's really great. A couple more questions I wanted to ask Courtney was self-care. How do you personally do self-care?
Yes, I think in little ways sometimes I try and keep up on the self-care. And I think it's important to think about, there are some things which are actually just like not even self-care, it's actually just required to keep yourself good and healthy.
Yes,
so
recognizing that.
things like, obviously there's hygiene things like showering and whatever. It's just like, that's not self-care, that's actually, you need to have a shower. And I say that because for mums it can be so hard to get that time to do just the very basic things to take care of yourself. I feel good about those basic things. I'm showering, that's all good. But I can say, definitely in early newborn stage and things, there's times when even that basic level of care can go out the window. And then I guess there's the more self-care things that like replenish your soul or your energy levels and make you just feel good and enjoy your life. So some of the things I like to do for that is it could be little things like just making myself, we have a little Nespresso hot chocolate maker. I can make myself a little hot chocolate and sit down and just take some breaths and look out the window. Especially if I'm working, I can really get sucked into my work. So I'll choose a little break and I'll just go for a walk up from my desk and sit down, take some breaths. Otherwise I know I love a massage, so I'll go and get a massage, maybe like once a month or something, like probably less than that, to be honest. But I get to a certain point where I'm like, it's massage time. And it's built into my little healthcare extras, so I get like a nice little reimbursement from that. So it's almost like I've got the money aside ready to do it when I need or want to do it. So I also go to a gym, working out a little bit less now that I'm pregnant, but I find I would almost put exercise as not self-care. I think it's one of those really basic human needs to be active physically. But I'll take some time after the gym to sit by the pool or that kind of thing, because we have a little creche at our gym, so that's been great. I'd say the creche is probably one of my best little self-care things in my life that I've built in.
Because the children don't go to a daycare, so I'm really happy for that, and I do actually pass that tip on to other clients who are in this local area, which is fantastic. Oh, that's great. Anything else there? I think that covers it.
That's self-care. Pretty much it. Time with friends, that kind of thing.
Yes, beautiful. So now, I don't know if people know this necessarily, but you are actually a student of psychology yourself. And I know actually one of my family members say to me they always thought of me as a psychologist all their life, because that's how I'm wired. But I know for Courtney too, she's has a similar way of understanding people. So she's now studying psychology. How have you found the studying or the psychology principles have helped you in this journey of your life and being a mum and all the rest of it?
It definitely gives very good insight. You still have to choose to engage that part of your mind. I think it becomes natural, but I would say it's probably mostly helped me relationally with other people. Just, forming friendships, understanding kind of how people, what they have going on in their lives, and helping me have understanding and empathy, and but also putting in healthy boundaries if that needs to happen within friendships or family or whatever it is. I just get, it gives you a really good insight. It's so hard because it kind of becomes part of your brain, so it's hard to separate out.
Tell me about
what parts of my psych brain, and it's just like part of me now. So I honestly, even if I never became a registered psychologist, it's something I'm glad that I did, because it just has helped me see the world
a deep dive
a bit more clearly. Yeah,
awesome. I mean, you can talk to a spouse of a psychologist and say, so how is it being married to a psychologist? And they're like, oh. I mean, on the one hand, if it's done properly, it can really build a healthy family, but it also, I imagine, could be a bit
ammunition.
Could be ammunition, yes. Okay, so that's really cool. I'm glad you mentioned relating to people, because there's one thing that I find in my own personal research at the moment that I'm really focusing on is situations. We mentioned individual relational stuff, but also group settings, so organisational, maybe groups just sitting all around, or teamwork and so forth. I wanted to speak to, as a sort of final question, when I have people on, interviewing people, how do you go in groups? What dynamics do you find? Do you find you thrive? You don't? You find it tricky? A lot of people have maybe, I find, a lot of social anxiety as well, which will come out in those. We can't really control what happens in group situations. How do you find, Courtney, yourself in your personality? You go in groups and so forth. Did you want to speak a little bit into that?
It's an interesting one, group dynamics. I think it changes a lot with the group, and it changes throughout your life, I think, as well. I think when I was younger, I was, would have more of the friendship groups, and these days I'm more preferring a one-on-one kind of setting to go deeper into a friendship. But then there can be complexities if you're part of a group and then you're kind of going one-on-one with different people. It can get really complicated. And I've had situations of being, left out of groups, and that's been really hurtful. And unfortunately, you can think that feels very high school, but unfortunately, as mums, it can kind of happen throughout your life. So, I mean, I even, I did a bit of like networking stuff when I was in working or walking into a group. There'll be situations where you walk into a group where you kind of don't know anyone. You may be at a birthday party for your kids or whatever, and you're like, I don't know a single person here. And I think the first tendency is to just jump on your phone and just do this and be like, hide in the corner. But something I found, meeting new people can really expand your life. Potentially, you never know what someone could mean to you in the future who's sitting in a room. And so I think cutting ourselves off from that potential
I love that.
future connection is a real shame, because you can be robbing yourself of something really important. So I have a little tip. This is what I always
Great, thank you. Tip. I was going to ask you. So that's no, fantastic. I'm sure people will receive it well.
Yes, and it takes a bit of bravery, but when I enter into a situation like that where I don't know anyone, I will go for the person who looks the most disconnected from the group, the most lonely, or kind of feels a similar way to me, and that's how I will approach them and you can either say something like, oh, I don't know anyone, do you know anyone? And you could kind of really just
have that connection point.
Yeah, break the ice that way, or hey, you
Wonderful.
know, how do you know the host, or what, you know, what brought you here today? And that way you've actually helped someone else. And I feel like looking outwards instead of inwards at your own feelings,
Beautiful.
and realizing other people probably feel the same way, because you know it's not easy to be in that situation. Then I think it's a nice way, and then from there you can invite other people to the conversation or whatever, and see where it goes. But
that's wonderful. That's amazing, because you reaching out and connecting in that way is also helping them. So it has like a dual advantage.
Yeah, and you feel good because you've done something altruistic. Is that the word? You're not doing it just for that purpose, but it does actually make you feel really good. Like, oh, I helped someone else feel good in this moment when they were doing this.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate that little snippet of gold there. Because obviously phones haven't always been around, so there would be situation groups back in the day again where we couldn't rip out your phone, but maybe pull out a cigarette or something, or
stand there with a drink.
Exactly. So getting on the phone, I think, is the easy out. But again, it really it's missed opportunities, isn't it? So groups can be hard to navigate. And I know, Courtney, knowing you, that you've said in the past that you feel you're a bit of an extrovert and that you're energized by being around people and you thrive in group situations. Do you find that's changing through your lifespan at all?
Definitely. I just feel like the energy level that I have for it is a lot lower, and I really enjoy being at home at the moment. And it just was probably like with the little kids and all of that, it's just my little haven.
Very rich environment, isn't it, with the children?
And I have a beautiful, I have a normal home, but just a beautiful connection with my family, and it just feels very wholesome there. And even my daughter loves just spending time with the family, and she's 5, so
that's a great sign, isn't it?
So it's nice and comfy, but I do try and make the effort to, in saying that, if I was to tell you how much I actually spent around people, you'd probably be like, you're not a homebody. But compared to other points in my life where I'd literally be home at 1 a.m. after a nice dinner out with friends or whatever, so it's very different.
Interesting. Great. And I'm hoping that people can hear your story and think, oh yes, I can relate to that. Oh, I'm not different so much after all. And one of the things that I do with clients, and they're in this very busy society that we live in, especially for mums. Not saying that dads aren't busy, they certainly are, but yes, it seems to be a very big trend right now, because there's that mental load, that physical load, etc., emotional load. So what we do clients will find very helpful is to unpack their week and the day, and to find where are those little gaps where you can either reduce the demand or self-care and manage the demand, because it's so taken for granted, assumed that we have to cope, because that's what the culture is at the moment, and it's very toxic. And I really feel for the ones that are caught in that cycle. I think
it's very, like you say, it's very easy to keep piling on, and you need to really take stock and say, okay, instead of adding something on, what can I take off my plate?
So reducing the stressor, absolutely.
Which can be hard, because you can feel like you're quitting or letting people down. But you have to realise at the end of the day that you will be letting a lot of people down if you're incapacitated.
That's right.
Or grumpy all the time, or run ragged, and you're screaming then at your kids or your husband, or you're not being a good friend to the few people that you really value.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. Well, Courtney, is there anything else that you would like to add to our conversation? It's been amazing. I think we've covered a lot, so
I feel good. Thank you. Thanks for being there and helping me learn some of these lessons the hard way sometimes, but unfortunately
I don't think you need necessarily. You're pretty clever, but it's nice to have, of course. But thanks for coming on and sharing. really valuable, and I do
Definitely helps.
hope that people get a lot out of this. And stay tuned for some more sessions. I'm trying to develop a lifestyle type of space where psychology meets life, where we can do life better and it can be very enriched. And yeah, there's definitely evidence-based ways in which we can do that. And we've discussed some of them today. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
See you.